put your trust in the Lord, because he will never, when I say never, leave you astray.
Soften up the mess, drop it in the water, let the daughter find her image with the rest. She'll be learning how to breathe, spinning through identity, revealing.
Welcome back to part 4 of the Walking with Wise Women. If you are new here and you do not know me, first and foremost, my name is Lamikiona. I create a lot of content surrounded around my faith journey. It's just really going through my walk, really just learning more about God and being a woman of God, what that looks like, and just really exuding that joy of a woman, a godly woman, exuding the joy of a godly woman. That is what I want to do on this platform, is to exude joy as a woman of God. So now we are in part 4 of a series that I'm calling Walking with Wise Women. If you were not here before, I walked through Proverbs, all of Proverbs in the month of February. We walked through it from the beginning to the end, 31 days of really hardcore learning about what it means to be a wise woman. So we walked through the Dear Wise Woman series, which is one of the most profound series I feel like I've ever done. And I just thank God first and foremost, because we're already about to conclude part 1 of the series, especially concluding with Ruth. And then we're going to walk into Esther starting next week. So we got some things to continue to unpack. But y'all, we have to walk through Ruth chapter 4. And we got some good points today. So let's hop right into the video. And before we even do that, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please leave comments. Please engage with the content, y'all, because we want to get this out to more women who are looking to walk a wise life, and not just a wise life in the world, but a wise woman in God. So let's share, share to your friends, because we want to continue to grow this platform and to build on our community as wise women. So without further ado, let's get into Ruth chapter 4. So you guys know I like to do what I call the 5 different points, and I like to break it down to something where we can digest, rather than just giving you a load of things and it's like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. But this is really the way that I am able to digest the different chapters that I'm doing, because it just helps with really, really learning more about the chapter itself. Not just reading to read, but reading to understand, reading to get some more insight, rather than just reading just to read. We want to read to understand, read to know more about the likeness of God. So we move forward with our first point of the day, and this is when Boaz fulfills his role as a kinsman / a redeemer. And the most important thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that Boaz was a man of negotiation. He was a man that brought it to the truth. He brought it to the table, but he brought witnesses in, and it wasn't just like he just called a meeting, but he called a redemption. He called a redemption for Naomi, and he called a redemption for Ruth. And the way that he really spoke up for her, this is just like when you think about a beneficiary, this is a man who was a beneficiary for Ruth, who really spoke for volume into her, not just going to somewhere she never been before, but took her in, but also redeemed her with the ways of God, the ways that God wanted to bless Ruth. And he was that beneficiary that created that dynamic for Ruth to really create generational wealth. So I really wanted to speak on that, because he's led with a lot of integrity. He brought in the right people. He didn't just do it as a private setting. He brought in the right people, so that when they sat down at the table, when they sat down during the conversation, that it was going to be a conversation that you're not just leaving with something, you're leaving with more than you came in with. And that's what Ruth left out with, more than she came in that room with. She walked out a new woman, a woman of God, walking and exuding joy. Okay? exuding joy. And that's what we want to become as a woman of God, exuding joy and showing that God is in every circumstance. God is in every situation, putting his hands all around it to create. God is a creator, so he's going to continue to create. So then we move on to point number 2, which is legal and public confirmation. So when they were going through the redemption process, again, like I said, Boaz didn't just have a meeting with just random people. He had the right people in there. He had the right people that were needed to be there. He had the elders. He had people from the townsmen. He created a space where the right people were in it, and it wasn't just random people in it that didn't need to be there. Everybody who was sitting in that room was the right people that were needed to be in that room. And he showed a lot of transparency. He showed honor and God's law at work, because he was utilizing God's law. He didn't just randomly pick out something and just say, oh, this is how I'm going to redeem her. No, he went through the proper channels. He went through the right steps in order to make sure that Ruth was taken care of to the max. That Ruth was taken care of to the max. Okay? To the max. Then that's when it's led in point number 3, where Boaz and Ruth end up getting married. And why? Because the original redeemer, which is a very close relative, who when Boaz brought it to the table, he was very transparent about Naomi selling some of her field, and that he wanted to keep it within the family so that Ruth could inherit those things and she wasn't just left without. He literally wanted to make sure she was not well off. He made sure that she was going to be well off after that particular meeting. So this is when Boaz and Ruth actually end up getting married. And I just feel like this is such a profound moment, because sometimes the people or the men that we feel like are not our type or our typical, this just really relates to, he don't have to be your type to be the one for you. He doesn't have to be your type to be the one for you, because in that season, God will make a way where he becomes that one, not the two. He becomes that one, not the two. Even though originally you say you have this different type of man that you want, you got this man that you envision in your mind, but God has somebody different than what you will connect as your soulmate, as the person who I got to make sure my man find. Every man got to have a little ugly in them. I'm not gonna lie. Every man gotta have a little ugly in them. I'm not. But all men are beautiful. All men are very handsome. But that's a little bit that just got a little ugly in it. But hey, that's still the one for you. The one that God calls for you is the one that is for you. Not anybody else, but for you. And Boaz was that for Ruth. So then we go into point number 4, which is they actually birthed a beautiful son by the name of Obed. And this is when they name him Obed. And this is where we learn more about that generational, how when they start reading all the generational names, and that just really overwhelms us. This is leading us all the way from Obed to the grandfather becoming the grandfather of King David, to the story of the lineage all the way to Jesus Christ. So this plays a fundamental and essential role in making sure that we understand that generational dynamic, because from Obed all the way to Jesus Christ, that is literally generations continuing to go on. So this is why it's so important to make sure that although the names can be very difficult to say, I usually, and I'm not gonna lie, I usually play it on my iPad or my phone, where I actually start to listen to how to say their names, because of the fact that yes, we can sound it out, and sometimes it's very hard to say their names, but we want to get into that practice of knowing those names, because it literally plays a role in entirely when it comes to generations to generations, because it is essential to know the heritage, know where you coming from. That is so important, to know where you come from. And I just believe that this was a major part in Ruth, because we got to see going from Boaz all the way to Jesus Christ. And then number 5, this is where we really grasp and understand God's provision, providence, and legacy. The way that he but the way that he carried Ruth through this entire chapter, from chapter 1 to chapter 4, really helps us to know that God is in control. God is the head of our life. And when we put our trust in him, and not just some trust, but our full trust in him, not knowing the plan, not knowing where the finances are going to come from, not knowing where this is going to come from, not knowing from working hard that somebody sees you and sees beyond where you see yourself, and really takes you in, and then turns around and marries you. Like, these are the type of things that we have to practice, because when we really trust God, we just don't know the magnitude of the way that God is going to bless every situation that you're in. And the way that he blessed Ruth's situation really helps me to understand the importance of really trusting God. Because we can say we trust God all day, but we can trust God in some areas. But as we see in Ruth's story, she trusted God in every area of her life. And we watched and read and saw the fruit of her labor. We watched her grow from Ruth chapter 1 all the way up into Ruth chapter 4, really practicing that trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not in your own understanding, and always acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. He literally made Ruth's path straight. Even us, how do you see yourself in Ruth? How do you see yourself in Ruth as it relates to creating legacy through God, really trusting in God? This is where I wanted us to really go, because we need to learn how to really trust God in every area of our lives, and not just some areas of our lives. And I'm not just talking to you, girlie. I'm talking to myself. I'm really listening and reading, and I'm starting to understand more. Put your trust in the Lord. Put your trust in the Lord, because he will never, when I say never, leave you astray. And then, I like to make the connection to Proverbs, because it's so important when we walk through the Dear Wise Woman series, and now we're walking with wise women. We want to make sure we're making a connection from Proverbs. So I wanted to connect from Proverbs, which is Proverbs chapter 16, verses 3. And this is in the CSB version, which is the Christian Standard Version. And it reads, "Commit your activities to the Lord, and your plans will be established." I'm going to read that one more time, because this literally just spoke so much volume to not only Ruth's situation, but Boaz together. Them two as one. Them becoming one. So I'm going to read that one more time. That is Proverbs chapter 16, verses 3. "Commit your activities to the Lord, and your plans will be established." Commit your plans to the Lord, and your plans will be established. That is saying that every step from that one decision led Ruth to be able to not only bring grain, she brought double the grain. We saw her literally go from going out after her husband died, going with Naomi, serving Naomi in spirituality, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. She literally in every area. And we watched her be blessed every single time, just by committing that making that one decision to still go with Naomi, leaving everything she knew behind, leaving everything that she said was a possession, anything. She left all of that where they were at. And when she went to a city she'd never been to, she still trusted in God in every single area of her life. And God blessed that. God blessed her in every area just by making that one decision. It's all about that one decision that you make with God that can literally dictate the way that God will bless you and the way that you will see the true reflection of God. Not just some, but all. Not just some, but all of God. She saw all of God and not just some of God, because she truly trusted in all of God and not just parts of God. So that is why I say that Proverbs was so essential when she committed her activities, committing to one decision to the Lord, and her plans were established. Each step she took, God led her steps. God established her plans as she went. She didn't go out there with a plan.